You know that feeling when you get home after a long day of being around people and you just deflate? Like something you were holding finally gets to put itself down. The smile you were maintaining relaxes. The voice you were using, slightly more professional, slightly more agreeable, slightly more whatever the room needed. That voice goes quiet. And for a few minutes before the notifications start and the responsibilities remember themselves, you get to just be. Like nobody's watching, nobody needs anything. It's just you. And now here's the question that nobody asks in that moment: who exactly just walked through the door? Because if you've been performing long enough, posing, pretending, and most of us have, the answer is genuinely complicated. There's the work version of you. There is the family version, the church version, the social media version, the version you are with your oldest friend versus the version you are with your newest coworker. And somewhere underneath all of those versions, there's supposed to be an original, like a baseline, the actual you. But if you haven't spent real time with that person in a while, if the mask has been on so long, it starts to feel like a face. You might not be entirely sure who the fuck that is anymore. And that's not a small problem. That is the whole problem because you cannot build a life that feels like yours while living as someone that you're not. And that's what I want to talk about, the mask, like where it came from, what it's costing you, and what it actually feels like to take it off. You guys, welcome back to the Listen Bitch podcast. We are in season 10, the rebellion season. The world's on fire, and I want to help you guys get resourced and get independent and take massive personal responsibility for where you are so that no one has a say in your life but you. And this show is going to ask something of you that none of my other episodes have really quite asked in the same way. And it's going to be not just to look at a pattern or name a wound or reclaim a domain of your life. I want to ask you to look directly at the face you've been showing the world and ask yourself honestly, is that me? Is that actually me? Or is that the version of me that learned to survive by being palatable? In case you're new here, and I do, it looks like I have a lot of new subscribers. I just want to thank you guys. It's been a minute. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the show for years now, for like what, 3 or 4 years, I think, almost 600 episodes and 3 new shows added on top of that. So I wouldn't be here without you guys. But yeah, I'm Brandon. I'm Brandon Lynette, podcast coach. I am the authority in podcasting now. I've earned it. I what does my husband call it? The saddle time, right? Learning to ride a motorcycle a couple years back. You kind of have to get the saddle time to get your groove and get your confidence. I've done it there and here. Um, and my message is simple. Your mess is your message. And the gap between who you actually are and who you've been performing to be, like putting on that show, that gap is the mess. And what lives inside of it is some of the most powerful, most specific, most irreplaceable message you will ever carry, but it only comes out once you're willing to drop the mask. Today's episode is brought to you by my vibrotactile tech. Okay. In fact, I'm just thinking I kind of have butterflies and I'm like, what's going on? Because, I'm just recording this show. It's not a big deal. But I have some back to back interviews and actually a double interview. I messed up as a host last week and horrified myself. It was embarrassing. I'm honestly just still horrified. And I got a second chance and he rescheduled and it's right after this. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, I've got the nerves. I feel them. And I'm thinking, I did not put on my patch. Okay. There's 2 patches I really talk about through this vibrotactile tech company. Okay. And you guys, these are 0 ingredients. It is literally Braille for your brain. Okay. And don't take my word for it. Like you just have to try it for yourself. But that Zen patch is my secret weapon for coming on here without nerves. In fact, as soon as I'm done, I'm putting 2 on because I am freaking out right now. But the pain patch and the Zen patches are 2 of the most used staples in my house. Actually, we have a defend patch. My husband has a work cold that got passed around, and we have a defend patch that literally keeps sickness at bay. But this matters, especially for today's topic, because one of the most physically real consequences of being long term masked up and just performing is body tension. You know, the jaw that's always clenched, shoulders that never drop, that low grade physical holding that comes from years of managing how you're perceived. My husband's back was carrying that kind of load and more. Years of pain, and that pain patch has addressed it without chemicals, without drugs, without compromise, without adding more to a body that was already overwhelmed. And again, the Zen patch, if you're someone who needs to show up focused and present without the static of anxiety running underneath everything, that's your tool. I get the focus, the calm, the clarity, no jitters, no fog, no pharmaceutical dependency bullshit. Just you at your best, actually in the room. I have the link in the show notes. Okay. So you're going to want Liberty and Zen. If you've got kids in school, work in the public, you're going to want my Defend patch as well. But anyway, let's talk about this mask because you've been wearing, it's the one you've been wearing so long. Like, you probably forgot you actually even put it on your face. And I want to make this kind of clear for you guys. Authenticity is not the same as transparency. And this matters because a lot of people hear, and I say it like, be your authentic self. And then they panic because their authentic self has opinions and edges and wounds and desires and a whole inner life that they've been managing carefully for years. And the idea of just letting that all out unfiltered in every direction sounds less like freedom and more like a grenade. I've never been afraid to be the grenade, which is why I'm in Facebook jail again. But that's not what this is. Authenticity is not the absence of discretion. It is the presence of alignment between what you actually think and feel and value and then how you actually show up. You can be authentic and still be appropriate. You can be real and still be wise without context. What you cannot do, not sustainably, is without paying a serious price, be fundamentally different on the inside from who you present on the outside. That gap is where exhaustion lives. That gap is where the resentment builds. That gap is where the quiet desperation of a life that looks fine but feels incredibly hollow, that's where that comes from. And the mask isn't evil. The mask is smart. At some point in your history, in your past experience, the real version of you showed up fully, honestly, without the editing, and the environment responded in a way that taught you that version's not safe here. Maybe it was dramatic and obvious. Maybe it was subtle and cumulative, but the lesson landed. Modify yourself, shrink yourself, manage a presentation, be the version they can handle. And you did because you were smart and you were adaptive and you needed to get through whatever you were in. The problem is the mask doesn't know when the season is over. It just keeps doing its job. And this is the people pleasing trap. Okay. You are not being kind. You're being afraid. I know that's a hard sentence. So I say this with love. Okay. Before I say it with full clarity. People pleasing feels like kindness. It does. It looks like consideration. It presents as being easy to get along with. You're flexible. You're low maintenance, not a burden. And sometimes it genuinely is those things. But a lot of the time, if you are honest, and I mean really, really honest, it is fear putting on a performance. That's it. It's fear of disappointing someone, fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of being too much or not enough or difficult or demanding, fear that if you show up as the full, real, unedited version of yourself, people will decide you're not worth the trouble. So you shrink and you agree when you don't agree. You stay quiet when you should speak. You say yes to the thing you desperately need to say no to, and then you go home and resent the person you said yes to, which is not fair to them, by the way, because they didn't ask for your resentment. They asked for your honest answer, and you gave them a performance instead. And if your brain is like mine, it's a little neurospicy. Masking is a whole specific category of this, and it is brutal in a way that does not get fully honored. Neurospicy masking is not just a social performance, it's suppression of your actual neurological experience in real time. Hiding the stuff that helps you regulate, okay? forcing the eye contact that costs you cognitive bandwidth, performing attention in a way your brain doesn't naturally produce, translating your internal experience, which is real and valid, it's just that it's different, into something legible to people whose brains who work differently, and doing all of that continuously, automatically, invisibly, while also trying to do everything else your life requires. The burnout that comes from neurospicy masking is not regular tired. We talk about burnout last episode, but this specific flavor of burnout deserves its own acknowledgement. It is the exhaustion of someone who has been doing two full-time jobs simultaneously, living their actual life and performing a different version of it for an audience that doesn't even know the show is happening. People don't care about you. I know that sucks. And the moment the mask starts to crack, the moment you come out in an unguarded experience, or the overstimulation spills over to the real reaction surfaces before the managed one can replace it. Oops, there's a crack in the mask. It's slipping. The shame that follows is crushing, because you got caught, because the real one showed up, because you forgot to put on that performance for a second, and now someone might know. And I know I've been in those rooms in a professional context, people whose opinions mattered to myself and the direction of my future, and having a thought that was genuinely true, genuinely valuable, genuinely the thing the conversation needed. And I watch myself translate it, take the sharp edges off, make it more palatable. I phrased it as a question instead of a statement. Delivery for a long time for me was about 30% of the conviction I actually felt. And the thought landed okay, but it didn't land in the way it would have if I would have said it the real way. Okay. Cue that experience. And now you guys have the full on unapologetic listen bitch who is a little abrasive, but I always come at you with love. And it sucks because, every time that experience happens, I'm fucking driving home and I hear it clearly, the full version, the real one. I get the goosebumps and I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I should have said and exactly how I should have said it. Loud, clear, gone. And I'm full of regret. And who knows how many people I didn't reach because I wasn't in my full potential. That stuff is what keeps me awake at night. Because if I stay quiet, who am I missing? My voice, the full voice, yes, the big feelings, big words, everything I am. God created me exactly like this to find the people he needed me to find. So anytime I wasn't showing up this way, how many people slip through the cracks? That's terrifying. And the price of regret. That's what masking. Wearing a mask, that's what it takes from the room, not just from you, but from the whole fucking room. Because the real version of your contribution is what the conversation actually needed. And bitch, you choked on it. You kept it inside. And this stuff shows up like in relationships that feel simultaneously close and lonely. Like you spend time with people, you share meals and experiences, conversations, and you still feel unseen. Because the version they know is that curated version. And you can't be known by people who have only ever met your representative. It's going to show up in your work when your best ideas never make it out of your head because the mask intercepts them first and decides they're too risky, too different, too much of a departure from what's expected. And the safest version of your work gets delivered while the actual version, the one with your full fingerprint, stays locked inside. It shows up in your calling in the most painful way because the calling requires you, not the managed version, not the polished, practiced, edited version, not the church version or the social media version. The version's been approved by every room you've ever been in. It requires the original, the specific, unpolished, fully alive, genuinely you version that's been waiting underneath all of these bullshit performances for someone to finally give it permission to come out. And it shows up in the people who genuinely don't know who they are anymore. And there's so many people like that. It's heartbreaking. It's not as a dramatic statement. It's a real quiet, disorienting experience. They've been performing so many versions for so long that when they try to access the original, they find a question mark instead of a person. That is not a crisis of identity. That's a person who's been so busy managing everyone else's experience of them that they never develop their own. And the work, the real work, is getting curious about that person, not fixing them, not performing them, but getting genuinely, patiently, courageously curious. And this rebellion, the rebellion that matters, has always been about one thing underneath everything else: becoming someone the system cannot use. And the most useful version of you from the system's perspective is the one that has no strong sense of self, the one that can be shaped by whatever narrative is loudest, the one that doesn't have deeply held values and clearly expressed convictions and a voice that says the true thing, regardless of how it sounds and regardless of what's coming back at you, the backlash. That version is infinitely more manageable than the real one. A person who knows who they are cannot be told who they are. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. I've been called so many things in the past 6 months that I lost track, and not a single one of them can ever land because I know better. I know who the fuck I am. You cannot tell me. A person who has done the work of getting honest with themselves cannot be gaslit about their own experience. A person who has taken the mask off and survived, who has let themselves be known and found that the real version is not just acceptable but powerful. That person is a threat to every system that profits from your shell, from your performance. Jesus was the most unmaskable person who ever lived. He said what he meant what he said. He did not calibrate his message to the comfort level of the audience. He did not perform Messiah for the crowds and then be someone different in private. What you saw was what you got. Love, truth, clarity, and the specific kind of courage that comes from knowing exactly who you are and whose you are and what you're here to do. And that groundedness, I don't know if that's a word. It is today. That groundedness, that total alignment between the inside and the outside is what made him impossible to manipulate, impossible to control, and impossible to stop. That's the model. He's the goal. That's the goal, not performance, but alignment. So who would I be if I'm not telling you what to do? Start with the inventory of masks. And do this in a very unattached version. Just name them. Don't judge them. Don't try to fix them yet. Just name them. The work mask, if you have one, the family mask, the church mask, the social media mask. And then for each one, I want you to ask specifically, am I hiding or modifying here? What does the real version think, feel, or want this version doesn't show? You're just collecting data right now, okay? I want you just to really get brutally honest about the gap before you try to close it. And then I just want you to pick one relationship. Yeah, one. This show should just be called Pick One, because bitch, never have I said do 100,000 million bazillion 5011 things, okay? Pick one relationship. The one safe, trustworthy, genuine, on your side relationship where you're going to let one more real thing through this week. Not everything. Just one thing, one honest answer, one unmanaged reaction, one moment where you say the true version instead of the safe version. You let another person actually meet you. And I want you to notice what happens, because the fear says catastrophe, and the reality is almost always something much gentler than that. And for my neurospicy masking specifically, okay, this one is important. I want you to identify one safe context where you can practice unmasking, one environment, one relationship, one time of day where you give yourself explicit permission to not perform neurotypically. Okay, do what you need to do. Go quiet if you need to, exit if you need to, be fully unapologetically without explanation your actual neurological self. Your brain is fucking beautiful. I'm sorry they're stacking labels on you and trying to make you seem like it's something different. Everyone has neurospice to their brain. Some people acclimate to the neurotypical. Yay, congratulations. Okay. others, like myself, my brain was not going to be contained. But listen to me, your nervous system needs to know that the real version is safe somewhere, so give it that somewhere. Um, you guys, we're in the rebellion. We're in it. It's like 21 episodes I think we've done since I started, and I really was just going to do like four, like a rebellion week, right? But I'm like, we need our whole lifetime to strengthen the rebellion. Really. I laugh, but I'm serious. Like, I'm really fucking serious. Um, and I'm asking personal questions of you, like, bitch, are you actually here? Not a version of you, not the approved, edited, palatable, safe for all audiences version. Like the original, the one with the full voice and the real opinions and the specific mess that became the specific message that only you were ever supposed to carry. The world does not need another performance, okay? We've got Hollyweird, we've got government, we have media, we have all these people scripted performing a show for us, thinking that we're stupid, that we're useful idiots, okay? They're scripted bullshit. The time is up on that. We're not going to continue to be like them. What the world needs, what the people you were made to reach are desperate for, is someone who took the mask off and kept going anyway. Someone who let themselves be seen and survived it. Someone whose authenticity gave other people permission to stop performing and start living. The someone is you, the real one. If this episode lands somewhere in your soul, okay, please like the show, please subscribe, and leave a written review. I love the stars. I'm grateful for them, but it literally takes 2 minutes and it changes the trajectory of who gets to find the show. And make sure you share this out. Head to brandonlynette.com, get on the list. Please go watch this episode on YouTube. I need some subscribers, you guys. I needed to get to 500, and I think I'm barely halfway there. I'm not going to say barely because I couldn't have done it without you guys. I literally started at 0. Okay. So 250 is a lot of fucking people, and I appreciate that. But I am asking for your support. Please go support the YouTube channel. Um, and grab the pain patch and the Zen patch from my link in the show notes, okay? If your body's been carrying the weight of performance and deserves that actual relief, okay? You also could check the show notes. You guys, I have launched my podcast coaching because I realized how important it is and really how underused this market is. No matter what you're doing, I don't care if you're a coach or a podcaster, network marketer, whatever it is. If you need to expand an audience and you're like me and you don't want to cold message people all day or join a bunch of groups and put on fake relationships, get a fucking podcast show. Like, do it now. I have a free support group where I spill all the secrets. You guys, I am the authority on the shit now. I've done it. I've been through enough hell that I get to help you wade through it without getting burned. Okay. That's what I do. Different options. The group is free, but you can literally pay to work with me and we will have a show launched in a week. Literally in a week with a game plan and a map. Okay. You'll know exactly where you're going, what you're doing, what your voice is expressing, who the fuck you are, and the message you want to get across, and how it's going to expand your business and your reach. Networking. I don't care what you're doing in life. If you're not networking, you're missing a lot of people that were meant to be in your container. Okay. So, anyway, on top of that, I do have an interview show. Okay. Tell me why you're special. If you have heard that, awesome. I appreciate that. If you haven't, go check it out. I interview people with real stories. And if you have a real story, I want to see you on my show. But bitch, before you come on, you're going to have to take the mask off because I want the real version of you. That's always going to be the better story. And that's what that show highlights. So that's it for today. I'll see you bitches later. Love you.